Hello and welcome to the show on that. I am your host, Bill Sinise, and I'm really excited to have you joining me here today for this, the first ever episode of the show on that. We have a great show for you planned today. I'm going to go ahead and pull up some slides for you all to see here so we can see what we're doing. The show on that is brought to you by willnada.com, and you can find us on willnada.com at willnada.com/the show on that. You can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/the show on that. Today, we've got a great topic and a great show in store for you. The topic of the day, what is B2B Account Management? And to help me teach you all about B2B Account Management, I've got a couple of great panelists with me here today. We've got McDonagh, a senior account executive at Gartner, and Daniel Young, a senior account manager at Wise. And I'm going to bring the two of them on stage with us here so that they can go ahead and introduce themselves. Anna, go right ahead.
Hey, Bill, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to hear your radio voice, and I get to see your face too. As Bill mentioned, I'm a senior account executive for the global accounts team at Gartner, specifically working with our supply chain executives. I am based in the greater Seattle area, and I've been in a client-facing role for 18 years now.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. Daniel?
Hey, Bill. Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
My name is Daniel. I'm a senior account manager at Wise on the Wise platform team, managing payments for our enterprise customer base, working across the teams here to ensure that our clients' needs are well met and grow their businesses.
Right on. And today I'm playing the role of both a host and a panelist. And I'm Bill Sinise, and I'm a senior adoption manager for Amazon Business. And I have been in the account management world for the better part of 15 years now, and really excited to share my expertise and also to help moderate the discussion here with our excellent panelists. So jumping right into the topic of the day, what is B2B account management? I thought a meme would be a great way to kick us off, because I think that account management is one of those things that most people have heard the term. Most people probably have some idea of what it is, but they don't really know exactly what it is that a B2B account manager does. And Anna, I know you're coming to us today from a business trip, so I would have to go out on a limb and say your friends probably think you're out having a good time right now.
You know it, whining and dining, right? Living the luxurious life.
Exactly. I think everybody that I know thinks that every time I'm on a trip, it's all about having fun. And I mean, I'll admit it, we do get to have a little bit of fun once in a while, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's the family side of it. You know, I work from the home office, and my family hears me on phone calls, video calls like this all day, every day. So, I'm willing to bet that they think I'm some sort of call center operator, maybe a customer service representative. Daniel, anybody ever said something like that to you?
I swear my roommates and partners that I live with always think that my job is something that it's not, because I always think they pick up the funniest little tidbits of my conversations. I swear they only hear the things that don't apply to my job when I'm on calls.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. And I've got these great glass doors to my office, so I'll get my kids standing outside the doors every once in a while looking at me like, what are you talking about, Dad? Jumping to the bottom left here, what my company thinks I do. Well, I'm pretty sure most of our companies think we're closers. We're out there making deals. We're the reason that everything happens. And if we're not selling, we're not doing our jobs. Am I right?
Yeah, I think the company thinks that we're these hotshot ego guys, always the face of the company, talking to everybody all at once. There's this whole idea that under the commercial org that you are always chatting, always in front of people.
Yeah, fair enough. And Anna, what is it your customers think you do?
Well, Mike, I actually really like the slide that you have up there. I think they think I'm a supply chain data nerd, maybe hustling for some additional growth. But honestly, I genuinely hope my customers think that I'm an advocate for them. But whether that is how they would describe me, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I love that. Advocate for the customers. I feel the same way. I hope that's what my customers think of me as well. I think they always kind of look at us as like the solution person, whether they want a solution or not. We've got one.
Yeah, exactly. That you must be able to do X is what I hear a lot. You must be. able to. So we then find a mutually agreed upon path forward.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if they think we can do it, we must be able to. I like that thinking. And then, of course, top right, what I think I do. I know personally, I think that I'm the king of relationships. I think that I'm a excellent presenter. I do think of myself as a little bit of a salesperson. What about you, Daniel? What do you think you do?
Someone said today that account managers are kind of sheep herders. We are managing so many different things, just making sure that our flock is growing and doing well. I like to think of myself as a humble sheep herder, maybe on the Irish coastline, maybe.
Ooh, I like that. A sheep herder. Anna, what do you think you do?
I want to come work with Daniel because sometimes I feel like I'm herding cats. So, but I think we're all aligned. There's a lot of herding happening when you're in account management, for sure.
Yep. Love it. Oh, that's a great analogy. Well, and then of course, the last one here, what is it that we really do? And I think you'd all agree. It's all of the above. We are herding cats or sheep, depending on the day. We are making sales. We are entertaining customers. We are talking on the phone all the time and having video calls. And of course, we are doing whatever it takes for our customers to get the service that they need from our organization. So hopefully that gave everybody just a quick, top high level idea of what it is that B2B account management really is and what it is that a B2B account manager actually does. But just in case you're wondering, I've used the term B2B now probably a dozen times already, and I haven't taken a chance to define it. So just in case you don't know, there's B2B and there's B2C, and those are short for business to business and business to consumer. The three of us, we all work in that business to business space where we represent one company that is doing business with another company. We build long-term partnerships. We establish complex relationships. We create synergies and collaborations. That's not to say that a B2C account manager doesn't do those same things, but they're working with individual consumers. So they're working from one business and interacting directly with a consumer, someone who's using that product or service. Have either of you guys ever worked in the B2C space? I've only ever worked in B2B.
I have not. My company Wise does have a very pronounced B2C space, and the differences couldn't be more vast. It's a great call out on the differences between what it's like to work with an enterprise business, for example, versus individual customers.
Yeah, I have never worked with individual customers, and I will say that while I think B2B account management has its challenges, I probably wouldn't trade places with B2C. I can see that being requiring far more patience.
I'm with you there, Anna. I feel like my calling was the B2B side of things. I don't think I was meant for B2C, but kudos to those individuals. And if you're in B2C account management, I think you'll learn plenty from this show. I think the concepts that apply to B2B definitely apply to B2C, but as Daniel said, there's a chasm between the two and what they really actually do. So let's jump now. We talked a little bit at a high level about account managers, but the core job of an account manager, I mentioned it earlier, Anna. I know you're on a business trip right now, coming to us from the road. What are you out doing this week?
Yeah, so I think that I consider this part of my job core to being an account manager. It is part building relationship, but also ensuring that we're creating a feedback loop between our clients and the organization. So while we might spend a good amount of time looking forward, not a lot of time left these days to reflect, it is always important to me to get the feedback from our clients and ensure that I am passing that along to the business so that we have the opportunity to improve. I think without our clients' feedback, we would become irrelevant. And so I'm a big proponent of gathering and then sharing back what I'm learning from my clients and prospects too.
Love that. The feedback loop. I think that's such an important piece of what account managers do, because if you think about it, in a business to business relationship, it's easy for a customer to feel lost in the shuffle. They get sold on something. Your company does something that they need or provides a product that they use. So they make that initial purchase, but it's not a one-time thing. There's a long-term relationship there. There's going to be an ongoing usage of that product or that service. And without the account manager, their feedback can get lost. They feel like they have no voice. Love that dynamic of it. Daniel, what about you?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the industry, but at the core of an account manager role, your purpose is really to drive revenue and own the relationship between a partner. I think once you start looking beyond that, how do you drive revenue? It's establishing those relationships, identifying opportunities, strategizing, maybe going from not only selling, but also looking for feedback, looking for ways to better your product or services. At the core of it, it really is this relationship management in order to drive revenue. But all these pieces that Anna has mentioned as well also contribute to the long-term success of an account manager.
Yeah, great points there. The revenue driving. I think at the end of the day, if an account manager isn't driving revenue, they're going to find themselves out of a job sooner than later. So you always do have to kind of keep that in the back of your head, that what you're being measured on as an account manager is that long-term revenue. And that's ultimately what's paying you to do the job, is the fact that you're driving long-term revenue. You mentioned the relationships. To me, that's such a key part of what account management is all about, is building and maintaining those relationships. On the screen here, I mentioned sharing customer feedback, like Anna said, coordinating internally. One dynamic of account management that I think is really unique is the need to sell internally as well as externally. I was joking with you guys before the show here that I feel like when I make a sale, I tend to do more work afterwards than I ever do before, because account management, it's not about like I made a sale, the receipt printed, and I get to walk away. You make a sale in account management, and a lot of times you've just set yourself up for years of work to come to continue to fulfill the sale, the promises maybe that you made along the way.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. And I think all the points you have here on the slide are fantastic. But I will say that for every account manager role that I've had, the actual things that I did on the job have never been listed in the roles and responsibilities. I think part of being an account manager is being able to wear multiple hats and then follow through on the opportunities you have or decisions you have to make. And that'll include doing a lot of things that are outside what you can normally put in the job description. An account manager is a very versatile role, and you have to be able to do things and think in the mind of your customer to, again, drive that partnership and drive that revenue.
It's a great point.
I would echo that, Daniel. And I think part of that is, I know, Bill, so when I hear relationship building, I know what that comes with. But I think to add to this, for folks who maybe don't have that experience with B2B account management, there's a reliability piece that our clients, our customers have to have, our internal partners have to have. That Daniel, when you talked about that follow through, you cannot build a relationship without your customer, your client, your internal partners knowing that you will follow through, that they can rely on you to execute on your promises. So I think earning trust is a huge piece of that, both internally and externally. And so that's, talk about juggling a lot of different responsibilities. You're also juggling a lot of different personalities and communication styles. And so we really are Jack and Jills of all trades, and masters of all.
I love that. I love that analogy. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Account managers, Daniel, to your point, we never have a job description that fully describes what we do. Anna, to your point, we are doing everything and anything that needs to be done for our customers. We're not just doing one job. We're doing 100 jobs all at the same time. And it does create a bit of a juggling act that we have to balance. Jump in here. Want to stop for a second and talk about why it matters, because account management, it's actually a vast role. Like there's millions of account managers across the country. I forget the exact statistic that I looked at the other day, but the number of account managers that exist is huge. And I kind of stopped and asked myself, like, why is that? What makes account management so important? And we touched on it a little bit on that last slide. It's the value drive. It's the fact that we are the ones who are creating the revenues for an organization. We're the ones that are maintaining it. I think it's the old adage that it costs more to get a new customer than it does to maintain a customer. An account manager, we are that maintenance piece. So I don't know if anything on this slide speak to either of you.
I think one thing that's been cool with my current role is that in all my past roles of account management, they've all been strictly B2B. The current company that I work at, their bread and butter is B2C, and they've only recently spun up as B2B business. Okay. They didn't fully understand, why do you need an account management team, a customer service team? Their thought process was, hey, once you close a sale, your product should speak for itself. You should be able to just grow from there. We've had to educate and train our teams and show the value of an account management, and that being the sale does not stop once the contract is signed, once the sale is considered closed. Yep. Account managers are not only doing the maintenance piece, like you mentioned, Bill, but also doing the selling and upselling that salesmen do as well.
Yeah, great point. I mean, it's kind of what we have at the bottom of the slide there. We take a product and turn it into a partnership. You know, your company had a product and it was selling clearly, but you know, they weren't getting that partnership piece that was going to keep the revenue flowing, that was going to keep that product, that relationship intact. Great example. Stepping forward here, we talked a little bit about account managers being salespeople. And at the end of the day, like if people ask me that, you know, I'm not feeling like getting into a 20-minute conversation about like, hey, Bill, what do you do? I usually just simplify it to I'm in sales. Because if you think about it, like that's the easiest way to talk about what it is that you do. And I realize I don't have my slide pulled up here. So let me go ahead and show you guys the slide. You know, and account management is sales, but it's not one-time sales. And I think there's a really important distinction there between a one-time seller and an account manager. Either of you guys want to take a stab at this one?
I think that, as Daniel mentioned, we do sales. Revenue is probably our core KPI. But when I think about the difference between a one-time sale and account management, is really more around is tied more to our own internal drivers, right? Like I think sales folks are more inclined to, they enjoy being able to hand off a closed deal to someone else and then go on to the next thing. There's a habituality to it. Whereas with an account management, you really, when we talk about end-to-end account management, you are really shepherding a brand new client customer from the first onboarding conversation through to when they get promoted and they add additional services or products. And so one is the relationship building, but you really need to have a long-term mindset, and you need to have sort of that stamina to invest in opportunities that may not, you know, planting the seeds now for opportunities that may not come to fruition for some time to come. So I think it's really more, when I think about the key differences as someone who may be considering account management, B2B account management, I think it's like, are you the kind of person who wants to really own that relationship from when they first join through to that growth and beyond?
Yep. Yeah. Are you a hunter or are you a farmer? You know, I think it's almost that type of a mindset. You know, you used one of my favorite analogies, which is the planting seeds. I feel like that's what I'm doing more often than not, is I'm planting seeds and then I'm harvesting them over time. Whereas, a one-time seller, it is much more about, you know, you're eating what you kill. So you got to get out there and constantly be hunting. But once you've made that sale, like that's it. That's the time to move on to the next one. Daniel, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think Anna made up a great point of the difference between the selling cycle of a salesperson and an account manager and what that looks like in terms of the differences. One interesting one that stands out to me is the idea that you are getting feedback continuously from your partner, from your customer throughout the entire selling process. A salesperson, I'm sure we've all seen, can promise the world, right? But then the account manager has to follow up and then execute on that. Not only are you executing to achieve your opportunities, but also hearing product feedback, innovation feedback, to better your internal teams, to better your product, which is a really cool feature I think that AMs are responsible for, account managers are responsible for, is that bettering and feedback loop that you're seeing from partners.
Yeah, great point. Great point. We'll move on for a second here and just talk for those who are looking at, you know, a potential career in B2B account management. One thing that I always like to call out is the difference in the actual compensation structure and the measurements as well. So, we all know that sales is all about you make a sale, you get paid, right? That's a one-time seller mindset. Account management, you might go days, weeks, months without making a sale, but that doesn't mean you didn't do your job. It means that you're probably focused on those other things we were just talking about, the planting of the seeds, the harvesting, the growing, the caring for and nurturing of a relationship. Whereas, the one-time sales, you're looking for those quick wins. You are commission-based. That also tends to come with management breathing down your neck. They're looking, where is that next sale? When are you going to bring in the bacon? And they tend to work in environments where they have management right there on site, watching their every move and measuring them on those sales that they're making. Where account management, very different environment. We tend to work at more of a distance from our own management and even often from the rest of our teams. You can be in entirely different geographies from your entire team and your manager and still be doing the job just fine, because it's not about having somebody breathing down your neck and watching you make that next sale. It's having trust that you're going through the process, you're building the relationship. And as part of that, the way that you're compensated tends to be a little bit larger of a base salary compared to a one-time seller, but a little bit less based on the actual sales themselves. You may have a commission plan, you may have a quarterly, monthly, annual bonus plan, but most account managers are getting a salary that they can at least live on, and an understanding that you're not expected to just eat what you kill, because that's not the environment of the job. Any thoughts on that?
I think the setup works better for some rather than others. I know some people are very motivated by closing deals. They love the face-to-face interaction you're constantly having, as well as constant pitching and selling. For others, the account management setup of less highs and lows, I would say more consistency, also advantageous. It also depends on the setup of the company. Some account managers only have a base salary. Some others may have capped or uncapped bonuses. Same goes for salespeople. Some sales folks may have uncapped commissions, which can be very enticing for those who want to put in the hours and find themselves in opportunities to really capitalize on that setup. So it really depends on person by person.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Jump here to the next slide for a second. So I talked about one of my favorite things, or one of my top things in account management, is relationships. And, you guys joining me on the call today is an example of a intercompany relationship. You and I, we each worked together at some point in time. I reached out to you and said, hey, would you come jump on this crazy new show that I'm launching? And you guys were kind enough to join me, which is awesome. And I really appreciate that. But relationships mean a lot of different things. And in B2B, a relationship is different than that you make with a friend or a coworker or a loved one. It's a business relationship. And there's a key to that. And there's a certain thing that makes that unique, which is you're always giving and taking in a business relationship. Because if you're only giving, you're being taken advantage of. And if you're only taking, you're taking advantage of the customer. And it needs to exist both ways. Otherwise, either you or your customer contact are going to find themselves out of a job sooner or later, because that's a one-sided relationship. So the key to a business-to-business account management relationship is making sure that it's a two-way street. When you do that right, what you'll find is that customers will stay with you longer. They will ultimately buy more things that you're selling, and you'll find that you're able to make sales without having to sell. And that is probably my favorite part of account management, is that I always tell people I'm really bad at selling. Like, that's not what I do. I'm not a great salesperson. But I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at understanding what their needs are, what their challenges are. And then I'm good at showing them how my products, my services can help fulfill those needs, can help remove the things that they're struggling with. So the relationship is really the key for me to how I do my job. Anna, I know you're a relationship person. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we talked about the feedback loop earlier. I think the feedback loop goes both ways. And I have found that, as the saying goes, direct is kind. Sometimes our clients or customers also need to be coached on how to be better business partners. Ooh. They have made an investment in our service, our product, and with that, a commitment to this partnership. And I think, like in any relationship, in your life, communication is key. And being able to also develop the kind of partnership where you can provide that feedback to them as well on how they could be partnering in a more meaningful way, how they could be a better business partner is just as important as making sure that they have the opportunity to give feedback to you, both about how you're managing the account and as well as products or services or capabilities that they're looking for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Daniel, any thoughts on relationships?
Yeah, I think Anna's point there was great. I think one of the mistakes that I made early in my account management career was grabbing a relationship, being assigned an account, and then just talking about the business, not actually setting up a groundwork for how we should work together, how we should talk, talking about how we talk, right? That is a really key learning that I think is very valuable to understand how can we better communicate for a successful partnership. If you just jump right in and take what you're given, it never really forms that groundwork of trust for a healthy relationship in the long term.
Yeah, great call out. You have to set the basis that this is going to be a business relationship and we're going to expect business to flow both ways and we're all going to have a role to play here. I'll be your best friend, but I can't only be your best friend. We have to do some business along the way. Awesome. So I think we covered this already, but account managers really are chameleons and we take on a lot of different activities. We cover a lot of ground. We do a lot of different roles, but we also communicate at a lot of different levels. I think every account manager wants to talk to the C-suite. We want to talk to the highest up person we can because that's who can really make change, make big decisions. But one of the unique things about an account manager is we also have to be able to go down lower into the organization and work with the people who are going to use our product. Because if you make a product, if you have a service and you don't show somebody how to use it, the person who that thing actually impacts, that'll make its way back up the chain to that higher level person that maybe you made the sale to in the first place. And you'll find that they will go another direction or they will be complaining to you because whoever it was that was ultimately supposed to use that thing can't use it. So have either of you ever found yourself in a situation that you thought you nailed it, you made the sale, you were talking high level, but then somebody down lower in the organization was like, hey, this thing, it just doesn't work?
I think, Bill, back in our days at Reckitt, as you know, we were selling toilet bowl cleaner and sanitation wipes. We were always in our day-to-day talking at the partnership level, if not higher, selling cleaning protocols for stadiums, for hotels, for airplanes, for cars. One of the interesting things that we actually had to do was talk to the people that were actually using our products and educate them on not only the value of the product, but how to utilize it, how to use it in their actual toilets, on their actual surfaces. I think that was a very big change in communication, but also an example of how account managers have to wear a lot of hats. Not only are you talking to partnership and C-suite, but you're also talking to the people that use your product, getting product feedback and advising them on how best to use the product or service that you're selling.
Yeah, awesome example. Yeah, I mean, getting down and dirty with the, showing somebody how the toilet bowl cleaner works was probably one of my least favorite experiences in account management. But yeah, sometimes it's how you get things done and how you make sure that your product sells. You got to do the dirty work.
Exactly.
Anna, any examples from your side?
I mean, I think from a service standpoint, it's easy to sell an enterprise-wide solution to the C-level, but if it misses the point of what it's trying to solve for within the enterprise, it's going to fall flat. And I have found that regardless of whether you have to sell to different levels, it's so important to stay close to every individual who is likely to engage with your service or your product, because you're unlikely to get the full feedback from the C-level executive who is candidly only spending a fraction of their time with you. You are one of many partners that they're having to deal with. But the folks who are engaging on the day-to-day, where the rubber meets the road, are also going to give you the best sense of where there's potential risk in the renewal. You know, we've talked about the revenue side, the commercial side of things. You never want to be caught by surprise when it comes time to renew the agreement, because the C-level loves what we do, but the feedback they heard from the team was like, there's like a better solution out there. You want to know that. And I think that's where you got to put your ego aside, show someone how to use the toilet cleaner, because those are the folks who are ultimately also internally providing that feedback on you. And so I think it's really important, regardless of who your ultimate decision maker is, to stay really in tune with what the entire enterprise that might be engaging with your solution or your service, what their feedback is, what their experience is like.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't know what everybody thinks, then you don't know what anybody thinks. And I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
To Anna's point, I think that one of the greatest or worst things that can happen is that the folks that actually use your product or service, they can provide really great feedback and inform those decision makers on whether or not to renew or on whether or not to keep using it. Or they can be your biggest enemies and saying, we hate using this, we don't want to renew, please change. So creating a champion from that ground level up is very important. It can hold a lot of power when the time comes to make a decision.
Yeah, great point. Relationships at every level are important. That's a great point. Jumping ahead here, I think the three of us on this call are a great example of this slide. And it's one of my things that I think is really interesting about account management is you can have any of 100 different titles and be an account manager. You know, if you're doing the things that we're talking about, if you're managing customer relationships, if you're building long-term revenue streams, if you're working towards renewals, if you're managing internal and external conversations to make sure that your product, your service is doing what it needs to do for a customer, you're an account manager. Just because your title might be customer success or account executive or relationship manager, or have a junior or a senior or a key or a strategic before your title, you might be national, you might be regional. It goes on and on and on. The list is really, never ending. And I know personally, I've been a key account manager, a strategic account manager, an account executive, a business development specialist, currently an adoption manager. I don't think I've done that many different jobs, but every time I switch to a new role, they give me some different title that to me, they all just mean the same thing, account manager. So if you're out there and you're watching this going, yeah, well, my title's not account manager, this doesn't apply to me. Hopefully you realize by now that this stuff absolutely applies to you. And if you're out there considering a role in this space, don't get hung up on the actual title of the role that you're going for. Whether it's global or local, you're probably doing the same thing, just at a different scale. And if you're junior or senior, you're doing the same thing, just with a different amount of seniority. Anna, Daniel, anything to add on this one?
I think one cool thing I noticed is that you probably also flip the titles here to same title, many jobs as well. So you could have two different account managers in different organizations that have the same title, but also could be doing a wide variety of roles. Because the account management job covers such a large span, you can have a big degree of variation between two different account managers. So when applying to a new role or getting promoted to an account management role, be sure to specify, ask questions on what exactly, what teams you'll be working with, how you'll be managing partners. It's very important to clarify because account management can be so broad.
It's a great call out. Similarly to there being a lot of different titles, there's a lot of different pathways. I got into account management at total random. I had never really even thought about account management as a career path. I don't know that I ever was even aware of what an account manager was, let alone a B2B account manager. I was working as a personal trainer, and I had a client come in one day and he offered me a job. He said, Bill, you're really good at talking to people. You're really good at selling things. You're not a really great personal trainer. I'd like to stop working out with you, and I'm not really ready to tell you no to your sales pitch. So I'm going to sell you instead. Come work for me. And that's how I got my first job in account management. I had no idea. It was a financial services company selling long-term care, insurance, life insurance, annuities. I knew nothing about that in my early 20s. And his statement was, I can teach you that, but I need someone who can talk to people, build relationships, make sales. I'll teach you the rest. And from there, I've been in B2B account management for the last 15 years, and I feel like I found my absolute calling. So that's how I got into it. But I want to hear from our panelists here. Anna, how did you get into account management?
I was pretty set on staying in the nonprofit sector. I had long-term visions of and aspirational to stay in nonprofits. But that is a space that requires a lot of ability to disassociate sometimes from the environment. And so I was living with my best friend. She had a B2B account management job, and we would sit on our front stoops in the evening, and she said, you should come over and work with me, because I basically do what you do. I make 3 times as much as you do, and I don't work as many hours as you do. And it took a couple more years until I fully burnt out before I decided to leave the nonprofit sector. And I left without another job lined up. I gave my parents a lot of anxiety about that, but she called me and she said, okay, are you ready to at least give it a try? Like, if nothing else, it'll be a good holdover for you. And I've never looked back. And I tell her all the time, I'm forever grateful that she wouldn't let up on me on doing this, because it has been such a rewarding and fulfilling job. And I did not anticipate that corporate life could be fun and fulfilling, and especially on the revenue side of the business. So that's how I ended up in account management.
Awesome. Very different path, but yeah, I got you to the same place. Love it. Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, I also had a windy road to account management. I was originally a finance major and had a finance internship the summer of my junior year. And for whatever reason, it was not for me, whether it was the team or the program itself. We had 3 people in a windowless room looking at spreadsheets all day. It wasn't my ideal role, to say the least. My senior year of college, my buddy of mine actually said he had an offer and the company was still recruiting, and ended up at Reckitt, where you and I were together, Bill, in a traditional sales program, which eventually led to an account management role. But I think one of the cool call-outs here is that, like you mentioned, Bill, everyone kind of has a different path to an account manager, and you'll never see an account management degree at a 4-year university, for example. So part of the reason why account managers are very versatile, one of the skill sets we have, is because we all come from these different backgrounds of having to work our way to where we are, which is a very cool trait I think a lot of account management share.
Yeah, great call out. And it's a great time to mention that for those who are trying to learn more, and I'll plug it here at the end as well, there isn't a college program for account management. In fact, there's not a lot of training programs in general. And that was why I took it upon myself to write the book on that, B2B Account Management, which is a deep dive into everything we've covered here on the show today and much, much more, which I absolutely plan to cover here in future shows. For today, though, we're about at the end of our time. I just want to show you all what's coming up next year. We're going to have a next episode on the skills that account managers need to be successful. We'll dive into the 4 different buckets of skills: communication, sales, relationship, and problem solving. And we'll talk about all the skills that roll up into those. We'll get some great panelists to join there. Maybe I can get Anna and Daniel to join me again for that one as well. We'll see what their schedules look like. Any last thoughts on what account management, what B2B account management means to either of you all before I let you off the hook here tonight?
I think the one thing I want to say about account management is that it is maybe more quiet in the recognition that you get. Not the big closes, not big constant sales, but it is incredibly rewarding. As a woman who is neurodivergent with children, I also have found that it is an incredible career path to be in if you want to have a fulfilling role at work, but the flexibility to also show up at home and the financial independence to take care of yourself and your family. And so while I absolutely love my job, it is also those things that have kept me in account management. And I think it's an awesome career path, regardless of where you are today, to consider going into.
Awesome. Great take, Anna. Appreciate all of your insights tonight and definitely appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Daniel?
I think Anna brought up some great points there about the joys of account management, and where I really see value in the account management role is not only the flexibility to be working on with and on so many projects and teams, but also putting yourself in someone else's shoes, having that empathetic view to have a customer mindset and be able to critically think and problem solve. I think that is a piece that Anna touched on that is very rewarding. You're not always looking just through data. You're not always just staring at a computer screen. You're really working with others, collaborating and owning decisions yourself, which is a very rewarding path for some people. And if that is something that interests you, then B2B account management is definitely for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, great call out there, Daniel. Appreciate your insights as well. Really appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Thank you. Big thank you to both of our panelists here tonight. You guys have been wonderful. Hope to have you again on a future show. And again, thank you for joining me here on the first episode of the Show on That.
Thanks, Bill.
And speaking of panelists, if you want to be a panelist on a future show, please shoot me a message on LinkedIn or go ahead over to willnada.com/the show on that. And we've got a form there that you can fill out to put yourself on the list to apply to be a panelist. Lots of great topics coming up. Let me know what it is that you're an expert on. Even if it's something I know nothing about, I'll be happy to host you and do an episode where you can share your expertise with the world. Speaking of the Show on That, we are going to air every second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be on YouTube all the time. You can always check out an episode even when it's not live. We'll stream live to places like LinkedIn and YouTube as well. But look for us Wednesdays, the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, please, if you liked the show, give us a like, drop a comment. Let us know how awesome you think our presenters were today. And of course, subscribe to the Show on That on YouTube so that we can continue to see and bring you great content. And last but not least, if you're looking to learn more about B2B account management, be sure to check out my book, The Book on That, B2B Account Management, Proven Strategies, Real Examples. It's everything that you need to succeed as a B2B account manager. You don't need to go to college and get a degree in account management. Check out The Book on That, and you will learn everything that you need to know to step into this great world of B2B account management. Thank you all for tuning in to this first episode of the Show on That. I'm Bill Sinise, and I look forward to catching you on the next show.